Hi, we're here with Debora Juarez today, who is running for Seattle City Council District Number 5. Would you like to go ahead with your 2-minute introduction?
Yes, my name is Debora Juarez, and I represent District 5. I was the first person to represent District 5 in the new district system, as you all know. And it's been an exciting 3.5 years. One of the things that I've learned and I've shared with people is that being on Seattle City Council, even though we've gone to a district system, is you actually don't just represent your district, you certainly represent all of Seattle, but you, what I like to say, honor the needs of your district. And I think I stole that from Star Trek or Star Wars. I think Worf said that. But my point is this, and it's the same thing that we saw in Indian country. There's nothing, it's the same thing. I truly believe, and I think it's working beautifully, is that you should live with the people that you represent. You should see them at the dry cleaners, at QFC, at Walgreens, when you're getting your nails done. It's a little weird when you see people at 10 o'clock at night in the wine section at QFC and you go, Councilmember Juarez? So, that's okay though. Yeah, it is, it's a little odd. But one thing that there are 4 things I'm really proud of that we have done, and not just me, but the reason why it's difficult for me to say I all, because I've always been taught not to start every sentence with I, but some of the projects that I'm most proud of that we have delivered citywide and particularly to my district is our $1.3 billion completely revamping of the Seattle Center and to bringing NHL to Seattle to no cost to the taxpayers. I'm really proud of the $18.5 million we raised for our new Lake City Community Center. I'm very proud and worked out a wonderful deal with the NHL and putting a NHL training center at Northgate Mall to the tune of $80 million. And I'm particularly proud that I just got appointed to the Sound Transit Board, and that we fought hard for our second stop on 130th, and that we're working now with Sound Transit to have that stop come in 7 years earlier. And one of the last things we did was do our levy, or not levy, but our lid for the waterfront.
Thank you. And now we can go ahead and get started with questions. I believe we are on Brittany. Would you like to ask the first one first?
Can I turn this over?
Yes,
okay. You guys are the only ones who do this.
If elected, what policies will you support to address the need for affordable housing and homeless services?
So, as you know, we had some issues with homelessness and how we were going to fund that. So right now, what we are all promoting, and I'm very happy to do, and I'm hoping that this will be the answer, it's this: we are going to now address homelessness the same way that we address transportation. We're going to go to a region-wide county response. That is, King County is going to work with the City of Seattle and create a Public Development Authority, a PDA, whose only job is to assume debt and issue debt and be laser focused on sheltering the unsheltered. We are taking the homelessness piece out of HSD, which is a city department, and we will create this other board, if you will, and I know it's going to be very competitive if we want to be on that board. And if any of you are familiar with what a PDA is, Pike Place Market has one, the Seattle Legal Service Commission has one, some other groups have them, but my point is, it's an organization that's legal, that can assume debt, issue debt, have its own nimble board, and can be laser focused on whatever deliverable, and that deliverable will be building homes and doing debt financing, using property in the county that we're already doing, and the city, that we can actually work with nonprofit organizations like Lehigh to build homelessness, because that's the #1 issue here. So it isn't just the homeless of building brick and mortar though. The other issue that we're focused on, of course, is the addiction piece and the mental health piece. And what we've learned from the studies, not only from the Poppy report, but from the recent Prolific Offenders report, is that homelessness, addiction, and mental health make up the biggest issue of how people become unsheltered. And so that is our focus right now, those 3 issues.
Thank you. Sherry, would you like to answer past the next one?
Seattle has the most regressive tax code in the state, the most regressive tax code in the country. Given the repeal of the head tax and the ongoing litigation over the city income tax, how would you raise more progressive revenue to help fund city services?
Well, that's a 2-part question. We already voted, the city of Seattle voted for a state income tax, even though our state law since the 1930s said that we cannot do that, but there's an argument about what actually is income and what isn't. So I think it's clear that all of us believe that the income inequality, that this state needs to have an income tax, and that will go up to the Washington State Supreme Court, and that will be answered. The second part is, how would you raise more progressive revenue? I hear progressive revenue to help fund city sources, and when I hear progressive revenue, I kind of shy away from that a little bit. I'd rather just say revenue. I don't know what progressive adds to that, because I think what we're talking about, at least for me, is I think we have to have particular businesses in this city pay their fair share of taxes. I mean, the elephant in the room is Amazon. I think the way that we did it, we did not have, I think, everyone at the table the way we did with Hala and other big groups. And that is what hurt us. It should have been a voter initiative, round table with business at the table to make that decision to move forward, or at least have an initiative where it's on the ballot, where we're not only gonna have to look at taxes on business, big business, not so much small business, and we're also gonna have to look at capital gains taxes. I know this recent legislature passed some taxes on businesses and sales. And we're also gonna have to start looking at particular areas in the gig economy. We're gonna have to start looking at taxes. But mainly, the thing I'm trying to stay the most away from is to limit taxes on property. The last time I looked, the majority, I think almost 68% comes from property taxes. And that is just, we want people to age in place. We want young people to be able, and young families or young people to be able to buy homes. And quite frankly, I think we're at a tipping point where we're gonna have to seriously consider a state income tax.
Thank you.
Given the city's reset of the Move Seattle levy, the upcoming expiration of the city's bus funding tax, and the planning for light rail through much of our district, what will be your priorities in setting how the city spends its transportation funds?
Well, there are 4 issues, and I think the priorities for me are this. We have to have this multimodal approach, and for me, there's a mixing there of how different electeds look at it. But for me, light rail is first. Transit is next when we're talking to buses, and then of course pedestrian, and then bikes. And then with bikes, I think we have to have protected lanes, and we have to have them targeted in particular areas in the city in which they actually work. But right now, I want to see our transportation dollars also go to sidewalks and walkability, because that has been a big issue for particularly our elder community and our children. As you know, particularly in my district, sidewalks is the big thing where there are just not sidewalks. But if we would actually build sidewalks, it would cost billions of dollars, and I don't think that's what we need to be practical about that. So for me, it's going to be light rail. It is going to be more transportation where we get people to light rail stations so they're not having to take to drive their car there, but can take a bus there. In particular with District 5, and I think we have this in District 6, is the problem we have is the east-west issue going back and forth. What's unique to my district is that we have 3 state highways. We have 522, 523, and Aurora, and then we have I-5 that runs right up the middle with only 3 streets going east and west. But that's because that's the way the city was designed when it was annexed. So we're gonna have to go back and look at different ways of having transportation. And right now, sitting on Sand Transit, we're looking at not just light rail, but particular tunnels between Ballard all the way to West Seattle. So that's where my efforts would be.
Thank you.
How will you continue the process of reforming the police department beyond the expiration of the consent decree?
This is actually a really good question. We just had a community public safety meeting last Monday, which well over 100 people attended. And I was there, Chief Best couldn't make it, but Captain Sana was there, and Chief, I say Eric, and myself. But the point is, with the consent decree, with the Judge Bogart being in charge, and we have a wonderful community police commission, which is going to continue. We almost doubled their budget and their staff. What we're going to continue to do is push community policing. We obviously had to incentivize people a $15,000 bonus to come work in the city of Seattle, but we're really pushing for more people of color and women, and we're pushing for more community-based officers that work closely with LEAD and the NAB team. The other issue that has been difficult is getting people to get away from this militarization attitude about police officers. That police, the whole reason you formed a police department is, as they say, to protect and serve the community. They're not to be militia. And somehow we moved into that era, and now we're finally sliding out of that era, which took a while, but of course we had a federal lawsuit against us for unconstitutional policing and obviously overzealousness and assaults that were disproportionately placed on people of color. And so far we've been doing good and meeting the needs of that consent decree, and that hopefully we'll be relieved of that soon. But the process of reforming is one of the best things we ever did was to hire and retain Chief Carmen Best. She was our choice. We worked really closely with her. One thing I like about being a district representative is when we've had both shootings in D5, I was contacted immediately and was on the scene with Dow and everybody else. And being a district representative and being there with the community, and just, we're planning 2 vigils now for the people that got shot on Sandpoint Way, and another individual that died on Lake City. I'm not one to say there's been a shooting in my district, I need a rally to call officers murderers. I'm one to say, let's find out what happened, let's work with the family, let's have healing, and let's find out, let's look at those body cams and see what happens. And that's from my background of being a judge and a public defender.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert.
I wanted to go back to the statement you said earlier about sidewalks. Sidewalks have obviously been something we talked about in the first campaign, talked about several times on the council, but as you just mentioned, it would cost a lot of money to get sidewalks in every part of the district. However, when we're specifically talking about people with disabilities, if you are a pedestrian on a wheelchair, we've talked a lot downtown about block the box where people can't. But if there's not an issue if there's no sidewalk and a car is too close to the curb, that impacts you. So if sidewalks aren't going in, what is the effort going to be looked like so that every pedestrian with or without disabilities is safe?
Well, there's 2 things there. First of all, city council worked hard. We worked, myself, Councilmember Bagshaw, Councilmember Gonzalez, we're on the phone 2 weekends in a row trying to get block box over on the Senate side to get passed. I have MS, so I understand what that's like, and Councilmember Bagshaw's husband has muscular dystrophy, so it was really important to us to see that those needs were met. The other issue is that we will, with the funding to be able to deliver about 12 new sidewalk projects in 2018, I think we're actually being sued, just like the city of Everett under the ADA for sidewalks.
Right.
So this is the problem we're having, and this is unique to D5, is that because we were annexed in 1962 and we were zoned differently than the rest of the city, that's why you don't see sidewalks. And if we were to actually pay for it, we couldn't. So what we've done is we have a hierarchy of what gets paid first, and it's high transit areas, it's schools, it's crosswalks, it's grocery stores, malls, where there's the most walkability. But at this point, that's still one of the priorities in the Move Seattle budget is the sidewalks. In fact, we just had SDOT on D5 yesterday walking Lake City Way for more sidewalks and side streets.
Thank you, Robert.
So we just had really good news yesterday from the hearing examiner on ADUs. That's good news. What do we think is next, assuming the ADU legislation goes through? What's the next step for the city council in making it legal to build more housing more densely in our city?
I just read that. That's what a nerd I am. 49 pages, 157 findings of facts, and 30 conclusions of law. And I don't want to be too negative here, but I was glad to see some people got their butts kicked. They were wrong. Way wrong. I'm not going to say who, but I was very proud of some of the stuff. I actually read this today, and so I just happened to throw it in my notebook as I was walking out the door. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to say let's get that density in these single family zone neighborhoods. Okay, there's 2 sides to this. The mayor and I have a little bit of a difference, but we're going to get through it. I want to see people be able to build mother-in-laws and detached ADUs on their lot. What some people are concerned about is that people who own big lots might not be able to afford to build 2 or 3 dead dudes, right? What they're worried about is developers who are able to do that. I know that if I want to, I have to probably finance through my bank to build a cottage. But a lot of people can't. So they're either not, it's not gonna benefit people who don't have money, or it's gonna be up to developers. So the next step, my understanding is from Councilmember O'Brien, is we're gonna move forward on the legislation. And hopefully not have an appeal. But it was very well written, it was very well done, and it was wonderful to hear at the very end that, the FEIS was adequate and that all the claims and arguments were denied.
Great, thank you. Elizabeth, you're next.
So one of the unintended negative consequences of shutting down the dark web was a major uptick on Aurora. And I know that you have been some fabulous help to Aurora Commons. My friend Elizabeth Dawes was executive director there, and I hear good things about you all the time. But there are, in fact, two models and two groups, Ops, Debora, Ops, doing the Nordic model, and Sex Workers Outreach Project, which is becoming more closely aligned with the New Zealand model. And while there is a lot of daylight and a very different perspective, what I did see was the uptick on Aurora, and I wanna acknowledge it fully, that was an unintended consequence that had been predicted by SWOT. And I also wanna ask you if you would be interested in helping me where we find common ground, for example, with the 911 amnesty, and I think that is a major place of common ground, and quicker beds opening when referrals are made by Aurora Commons would be amazing.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about your involvement in sex work, trafficking, and what I would consider consensual sex work, and what Pete considers consensual
Yes.
sex work?
I feel bad like I paid you to ask that question because that's been one of my number one issues I've done with all the years. And
Deborah does not pay me to ask questions.
Yeah,
However, should you like to start?
I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't really want to say it in my 2 minutes, but God's Little Acre, Mother Nation, Aurora Commons, these Seattle Indian Health Board, Keep Seattle Club, but those are all the over $1 million in budget money I've gotten in the last 3 years. These are groups that have never gotten money from the city of Seattle budget. Aurora Commons got it for the very first time because of us, and Melissa didn't ask. I just got it in there for her and told her this is what you need to do. So getting back to Aurora Commons, what we have done in working closely with them, besides getting way more money in the budget for them, getting them connected with the NAB team, getting a medical van up there 2 days a week, working with the ops people on getting women out of sex trafficking, but also getting the navigation team up there and lead, but mainly the NAB team to get women into treatment immediately. Because what we found through Aurora Commons and Mother Nation, which is a Native American group that focuses on women with alcohol, drugs, sex, and getting out of jail, incarceration, is getting them shelter first, in place, and then services. But on the sex worker stuff, what we're finding is that it isn't just, there are actually businesses up there that are taking advantage of women that have not been, that they're not monitoring, that are part of the problem. And I can't say who they are because we're being filmed. But we've been closely working with Pete Holmes on that and Elizabeth Dahl on that. And we've been working closely with the other social services groups so that when they have beds immediately, that Elizabeth Dahl and Aurora Commons will be the first to get those beds. Because we found out, well, everyone knows this, when people come in and they're ready, you have to get them right when they're ready. And one thing we're really proud of is when we got money in the budget for Aurora Commons the first time, we got them Narcan kits and they saved 15 lives immediately, just like that. That's what they could afford.
Great, thank you. Ben?
I've got 2 quick questions and a slightly longer one. Can you tell me how many homeless people are living in King County right now?
12,000?
And can you tell me roughly what percent of those people were living and or working in King County before they became homeless?
Roughly how many were what?
Living
What
or working
percent?
in King County.
Were working or living? I thought it was 75%.
Okay. What will you do to stop the sweeps?
Well, I know there's a real loaded word about sweeps, and I just have to be careful about that. What we do is we have to follow the law, And as you know, the Ninth Circuit just came down in the Boise case. And, making sure that when the ACLU sued the city of Seattle, the federal court upheld that the city of Seattle, unlike other, like Portland, Boise, and other states, with the 72-hour period, putting people's property, putting it aside for them, giving them notice, giving them services, putting the NAV team out there, we have to do that. But we also know now that we have to be able to provide a spot for people to go. And we've been successful in doing that. And this is something where a lot of people don't want to hear, and I'm gonna tell you. When we moved 27 tents out of the Cloverleaf and North Gate, 27 tents of people living in all those tents, nobody wanted services and nobody wanted shelter. So we run up a lot against that, of people who don't want our services. But for those that do, the chronic, every time, your average homeless person is either 37 years old, has an addiction issue, able-bodied, and has some mental health. About 24%, 24% are the chronic ones, where it takes 3 or 4 times to get them into shelter, and we've been successful with the NAV team getting into shelter. So, yes, you can call them sweeps, but, you know, at some point, someone will just tell you no.
Thank you. Clayton, you're next.
Following Ben's admirable model, I have 2 quick questions. One about sidewalks and one about sidewalks. When you put in sidewalks, you collect water. When you collect water, you change the diameter of the water system, and you run a tremendous amount of water through the wastewater treatment plants. Would you go then into a commission study to find out what those kinds of municipal improvements would cost? Because obviously the number is huge.
Are you talking about runoff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
You talking about culverts? Or you
No,
talking about just runoff?
I'm talking about sidewalks per se.
Yeah.
The water is collected, and because the sidewalk is there, rather than running off into somebody's yard,
Oh, I see.
right? It's a different hydraulic program entirely, and that ramifies from 85th Avenue north, northeast, northwest, to the north, to the boundary of the city.
Yeah. We mainly see that in the northwest, up in Broadview, up in those areas, off Third. We've been in those 3 of those neighborhoods up there, where the most flooding is because of lack of sidewalks. Because a lot of time, because that area was zoned in the 50s and 60s, and back then there was no SEPA or NEPA or no one was doing EISs. And so people brought property that basically gets swamped when it rains, right? The SPU, Seattle Public Utilities, maintains some of that with giving certain types of pumps out. But that is certainly something I could address with Councilmember Herbold, who chairs SPU. That is something that we could entertain and get in the budget for a feasibility study. Because we've done it for other things where we've asked for feasibility studies, like Hubbard Park. What would it take to make that park more activated? Feasibility study on the golf courses, which I commissioned, like how much are we subsidizing the golf courses and can we use it for other kind of green spaces? Feasibility study for, we do them all the time, so that would be out of the question.
Great, thank you. And that's actually all the time we have. Sorry, Matthew, you can follow up with later. If you would like to do a 30-second wrap up and whatever you'd like to say.
Oh, okay. First of all, thank you. All great questions. I wish we had more time. And thank you for the question on homelessness. I know that the numbers have went down a bit, but not enough. I think one thing that we learned under Mayor Murray, we were going to roll out 2 years ago money for a tax, which would have been about $55 million a year. But at the last minute, Mayor Murray decided not to roll it out because he didn't want it to compete with the county's levy that was coming out. But what we learned in that report, which also combined with the Poppy report, is that this is not free adult. That most of the people that were homeless here, live here, are from here, and became homeless here because it was either health, addiction, mental health, but also lack of insurance, employment, and being displaced. And And those are all things that we could fix or address or intervene so people are not evicted. And that was like one of the most startling things I think I read in both reports.
Great, thank you very